Hey there everyone, Rajat here. So when I started this channel, I created this video about explaining the architecture of a web application. You guys loved it. So here is the 2020 refresher of that video. So in today's video, I am going to talk about what are the basics that are involved in the making of any website, what are the things that you usually require in order to build a website, and what are the other moving blocks and pieces that are involved in this entire picture. Any website that is out there is made up of these three things which you can see on the screen. The first one are the files. These are mostly the static files. Those do not require any sort of processing. Then we have got the logic, which is the business logic of your application, because your application is supposed to do something based on users input, right? So that comes under the logic part. Then comes the databases. So these are the repositories which store your data. So if you are going to put your website out, users are going to come, and then your website is going to have some newer data based on the interaction from the users, right? So you need to store this data somewhere. Databases are those places where you store this sort of user created data. So let's head over to a practical website and have a look at these three pieces. So this is my personal website, and over here you can see some images. Here is some text. Here are some links, right? So images, as you can see here, are the static files. I just put it on the computer, and the computer is directly, sending these over to my browser. Then we have got this text over here. So this text is stored inside the database. I can update it, I can modify it. So the modifications are going to be saved in the database. Then I have got business logic in place, which is actually responsible for rendering these links, these articles. And if I go or click on any article, the business logic is also responsible for rendering the content of the post depending upon who is accessing the site. If it is an admin user, the content is going to be somewhat different as compared to someone who is not an admin user. So it is the responsibility of the business logic. Okay, so let's also have a quick look. So files have these sort of static content. Apart from these things, the static content can be of type application downloads or software binaries, like the game downloads which you download from the internet. So those are static files. Those files do not require any sort of processing. You just put them on a server, and as soon as the request comes, the client automatically downloads these files. Then the logic part. So in the logic part, we have got two sort of logic. One is the presentational logic. Now this logic is not responsible for rendering something that is very confidential. The presentational code is only responsible for laying out content on the UI. So this is mostly the front-end application which the client browsers can download and execute on their own end. This way you can save some processing power on the server side, on the computer that is going to serve your website. Then we have got the business logic. Now this business logic is the core of your application. It should be stored in a protected environment, which means it should be controlled by you. It should be stored on a server where you have total control, because this business logic most often will require some sort of secret keys and other confidential logic which you do not want to expose or ship over to the client browser or the client machines. So you need to execute this business logic on your computer. You get the output, and then you ship the output over to the client. The client, which already has the presentational code with itself, take this newer process data and just fill in the presentational codes data with this new data so as to create an entire UI. Now again, going back to our website, here if you head over to this particular URL, it goes to the business logic. It sees, okay, the user is requesting this particular post, I need to get the data. Then the business logic part goes out and scour the databases and files and all, gathers everything, and then create a page in memory, and then ships that processed data over to the presentational code, that is the React application. Then once the presentation code has everything, it just displays it. So this is how the logic part works. Then comes the database. Now databases are very confidential and you should not give access to your database to anyone. Only the admin of your website should have the access to the databases, because they are the heart of your content. If you have exposed your database to anyone, you have given the key of your website to someone else, then you are out of luck. You do not have to do that. Okay, so databases store all the confidential data, all the user created data that the person has created. So if I go back over here, all of this particular text and everything is stored inside a database. These are the subtitles and titles and other properties that are related to the settings of the site, right? Those are also stored in a database. So I can access the database via business logic. I should not have the direct access enabled on the database because it is a confidential thing. It is something you have to protect at any cost, right? So when it comes to databases, databases are specialized pieces of softwares where you have got this logic thing, which is a program in itself. It runs on the computer and then it creates files that are stored on the file system of the computer. So you can say that a database is a collection of processes and files. Now these files are known as data files because they store your data. So the logic runs on a computer. It takes in your request that you want to fetch or store some data. It processes its logic, and then based on that it goes out to the file system to either retrieve the data or store the data. So this is how a database is supposed to work, and this is how it actually works. Then let's talk about what happens when you type in the website address in the browser's bar and you get to see the page. So when you type in any website address, it goes out to the DNS server where the IP address of your website is resolved. Once you have the IP address, that IP address reflects a physical computer that is online and that is located somewhere. You just do not know its location. So every computer that is connected to the internet gets a unique IP address. That is how your browser knows where to request the data from. Okay, so once the browser has the IP address, it sends out the request, which goes in the form of a URL along with some data in case you are making post or put or delete requests, right? So the browser sends the request requesting some sort of web page, then it lands on that particular IP, and by IP we mean a computer. Now on this particular computer you need to have a specialized piece of software that is known as the web server. Now web server is a program that creates processes which keep on listening on certain ports. Now ports are like the windows, right? So ports are like the highways from which the traffic can come and go. So your request comes on one particular highway, one particular port, and that port is port number 80 in case of HTTP, and in case of HTTPS the port is 443. When you send in the HTTP request, the port that is going to entertain that request on the server side is going to be the port number 80. Okay, so the server has taken in your request. Now it forwards this request over to your application logic. So this is how the things are supposed to work. So web server takes in the request, forwards this request over to the app server or the business logic. Your business logic processes the request, and based on the request it fetches the location of the files which you can see here and the data from the database. Once it has everything, it just sends out the processed data from that very same highway, from that very same port over to the client. So once you have got everything, the data is returned to the client, and on that client machine the presentational code is running, right? So the presentation code will take in this data and then show it. So this is how it works. So this is a computer. You have hosted everything on this computer. So you have got the web server over here, your business logic over here, your file sitting nicely inside this computer, and then the database processes are also running inside this computer. Now this sort of setup poses two problems, and those problems are quite significant in the modern era. The first problem is the latency, which means, so let's suppose your user is located in India and the web server is located in Arizona. So if this Indian user is requesting the data from the server, it is going to naturally take some time. Why? Because the server is located across the globe. So it is going to take some time for the request to be fulfilled, right? So this is the problem of latency. Then let's talk about the second problem. So as we have seen that everything is stored on one server. So you have to be sure that every single time you have to move the server or you have to configure the server, you have some sort of surety that my changes are going to work. But in reality, the local development environments are not as beefier as compared to the production system on which you actually host the actual website. So your developers are going to be working on some inferior machines, but your website is going to be deployed on a machine which is having significant power, right? So you have to manage some sort of common ground between the local development environment and the production environment, which is the computer on which your website is running. So the second problem is the portability. So once you have got a locally developed and tested system, you have some sort of way of ensuring that I can easily take this tested system to the production server. So let's talk about the latency part, how to solve this. So we have got these things known as content delivery network, also known as CDNs. So these are the servers that are located, or you can say replicated, across the globe. So basically you put all your static files on these content delivery networks, and then these content delivery networks distribute your files to all of their data centers, and their data centers are located all across the globe. So when somebody from India requests any static file from your server, the request is not going to be fulfilled from the server that is located in Arizona. It will be fulfilled by a server that is as close to the user as possible, and that is regulated by the CDN network. So let's suppose if the CDN network is having a branch in Tokyo, then the user's request will be served from the Tokyo server, not from the Arizona server. In case the CDN network is also having one more branch in Bengaluru, India, then the request will be served from the Bengaluru server, not from the Tokyo server, because naturally Bangalore is in India, so it is closer to the user as compared to the Tokyo server. So the content delivery network servers work like that. They distribute your files all over their data centers, and based on the location of the user, they serve the request. So this makes the process of fulfilling the request fast. Excuse the vegetable seller. So this is how content delivery network can help, right? So you do not put your static files on the web server, you put your static files on the CDN servers. One more thing is that the servers which are responsible for executing the business logic are comparatively costlier as compared to CDN. So you are going to end up saving some cost in running the server as well when you are employing CDNs. Let's talk about the portability part. So to solve the portability part, we have got this concept of containers. So a container is a mini computer inside your computer. So it's a virtualized environment. Now you might have heard of VMs, but containers are conceptually different. For the scope of this tutorial, you can think that a container is a microcomputer sitting inside a real computer. So the microcomputer is created by softwares, by emulation, right? So you deploy your code inside this container so that you have the surety that wherever I can deploy my container will work. So you deploy your application logic, your business logic inside a container. So at least you have a guarantee that my code is going to work inside this container. Now it comes down to whether your containers can work on the other machine or not. Now you have offloaded the responsibility to the container creators, right? Or someone who are distributing the container softwares. Like Docker is a prominent solution for containerization. So you have packaged the software inside the container, and you have the guarantee that if the target machine is able to run a container, your application will work. On the target web server, you first install the containerization software, most probably Docker. Then your web server or the computer that is going to host your website will become capable of hosting container based solutions. Then you deploy your tested containers inside your Docker or container enabled computer, and then you can put more and more containers depending upon the processing power of your computer that is going to act as a web server, right? So you test the application inside the container. Once you are sure that the container is stable, you shift that container over to the production system or the production computer. The production system is also having the container solution installed, so it is actually able to host your container. Then you put those containers on the server and you are good to go. Similarly, you can package most of the logic based things inside containers. So since we have learned that the databases are also a collection of files and processes, you can package the database inside a container and put it on the production server as well. So in a real actual world scenario, this is how your production system will work. So you will have the containerization software installed, then on top of it you will put your containers on this particular machine, and then everything will just work. Now you have the guarantee that if I have tested a container, it will also work on my production system. And this is the complete picture. So your application code runs inside containers which have been put on a server which is capable of hosting containers, and you have put your static files on a content delivery network so that those are easily distributed. So the databases and the application code is served from a protected environment which you control, and the static files are served by the content delivery network, and this will complete the entire picture. Okay, so in case of this website, if I had used a content delivery network, this image will come from the content delivery network, and this textual data will come from the web server which I control. But as of now I am not using a CDN, but that might have given you the complete picture. So this is how most of the websites are deployed in production in 2020. There are other complexities that are also involved. I have created many videos regarding the web application architecture, which you can go and see in your free time. In case you have any further questions related to what we have learned today, make sure you chime in the comment section. Also, in case you are interested in software engineering and everything like that, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because on this channel I produce weekly tech related content. I see you guys over in the next video. Take care. Bye.